Hello and welcome to Webex Meetings Overview. This is a short session to give you a little bit more information on Webex Meetings. By the end of today's session, you might feel comfortable scheduling a meeting, maybe opening one up, turning on your camera, connecting to audio. I do encourage you to sign up for or watch the Meetings Foundations course. It's going to go a little bit more into some detail on that course. So before we get started, let me talk a little bit about Webex Meetings and other Webex services that you may come across. So we sometimes hear, hey, we've got Webex. Go take some classes, learn more about it. And if you're coming out to where you signed up for this class, there's a lot of Webex services. Now, Webex Meetings is where you want to start. It's sort of the base of what all of the other services offer. They may offer something a little bit different and a little bit unique. I use Webex Meetings for all of my meetings, obviously. I use Webex Meetings for all of my one-on-ones. I probably use the Webex Meetings service the most out of everything you see here. So on a weekly basis, I might have several meetings. Now, maybe every quarter, every 6 months, every year, I might have something a little bit bigger than that, right? I'm maybe not meeting with my smaller team or with a customer. Maybe I've got something that I want to present to a lot more people, but I want it to be a little bit more one way. Now, as you can tell from the picture here, it's almost like I'm in the auditorium, you're in the seats, and you're listening, and we're not really interacting with each other as much as we would in a meeting. And that's Webex Events. Webex Events is something that you might use for something that we hear in the industry, webinars, something big. Maybe the CEO has a big event every quarter or every year. Maybe your benefits department needs to let you know about open enrollment or changes to your plan. Webex Events is the perfect platform to provide information but not really have that collaboration and interaction with one another as much. There's also Webex Training. Now, as you can see here, this is a classroom in this picture. So Webex Training is the equivalent of classroom training. It's virtual training, but it offers more interactive features that trainers like to use to keep their audience engaged, like breakout sessions for small group activities, or little buttons that people can click on to constantly provide feedback, having their participants interact a lot. You may also find on your Webex site there's Webex support. Now, this is what I would use if I'm help desk or IT. Bob calls me, Bob has a problem. Bob has a problem with his computer. I start a support session, I get Bob in, I access his computer, I fix the problem. That's Webex support. And the one service that Cisco has that's very unique to everything above it is Webex Teams. And Webex Teams is a place where you can collaborate 24 hours a day, and if you're not there, you see what was going on when you weren't there. Webex Teams allows you to message, share files. You can also have ad hoc calls. You can schedule meetings. It's a little bit of a hybrid of all of the services at times. But today, the focus is Webex Meetings, and what I want to go ahead and do is give you enough information to help you understand what it takes before you get into a meeting, like your scheduling capabilities, also getting into the meeting, best practices, during the meeting, your audio and video connections and how to manage that, as well as sharing content or initiating a recording. And then where do you find everything after everything's over? Now again, please make sure that you take a look at the Foundations recording or take the Foundations class. That is going to give you a bit more information. All right, so let's take a look at the two types of Webex meetings. So I'm still talking about Webex Meetings, the service, but what you may come across as you explore your Webex site or look at any sort of Webex integrations that you have on your computer or your applications, when we go to schedule a meeting, we may see choices. Now, there's one type of meeting called a scheduled meeting where you're typically filling out a form. You might be applying a password. You might be checking to see if you have Webex audio initiated in that session. That is where you actually schedule a meeting, and if you're using the email plugins, you'll see something called Add Webex. So the email plugin I'm referring to is the calendar integration that Outlook can offer or other email programs that do support it. So With a scheduled meeting, something with advance notice, you are going to be providing a unique URL and meeting number, and everybody invited to that meeting is going to join at a specified time. And they can't join until you're either within 15 minutes of that meeting or it's the meeting start time. Then you might see something called your personal room. Now, your personal room is almost like an instant meeting, an ad hoc meeting that's always ready and available to you. The difference between your personal room and scheduling a Webex meeting a little bit more formally is the personal room has the exact same URL and meeting number every time you share it. You can start your personal room at any time. You'll see different places where it's sprinkled in. I want to show you that today. And also your attendees, without even being invited, if they've met you there before, they can join when you're not in there. And there's a button that they can click on to let you know that they are waiting to meet with you. So those are your two types of meetings. You can schedule a meeting, or you can just share your personal meeting room link, which is the same information all the time. Now, which one would I use and when? Now, I like to schedule my meetings for formal meetings. I like to go into my calendar. I like to name the meeting. I like to choose whether I want it password protected. I want to access some of the other setting with regards to that meeting. And because the access code is unique every time I do it, the meeting's more secure. And I would probably do this more so with external type of sessions, customer meetings. If I'm meeting with my team and I want to make sure customers, we all have separate meeting spaces that we use. Now for my personal room, I do use this for all non-formal type of meetings, very ad hoc. Hey, Linda, you want to go over the new class schedule? Sure, let's hop into a meeting. So I can initiate my personal room at any time and she can join at any time. There's no scheduling needed. I'm not filling out a form. I'm not providing any information when it comes to using my personal room. I tend to use my personal room for a lot more internal types of meetings. So let's go take a look at some of this stuff. I actually want to show you where you'll find it if you're using Outlook. Now, I do talk about the Outlook integration more because I use Outlook. I don't have another email program. And Webex can integrate in your Outlook. As you take a look up here, I've got a Meet Now button. That's my personal room. So if Linda says, hey, Claire, let's talk about schedule. Okay, let me start up a meeting. This is that ad hoc feature. It's the same link, same access code all the time, and it's located in different places besides here as well. So don't worry if you don't have these buttons. There's also schedule meeting if you want to schedule your meeting with advance notice. Now, these integrations are either downloadable by you. You are asked if you'd like to install them the first time you sign into your Webex site. They can also be deployed by your IT or your help desk. If you do not have admin rights, you can't install them yourself, but perhaps you could reach out to help desk to see if they could assist you with that. Now, what we're also going to find when we go to open up a calendar meeting is the Add Webex Meeting button. This is a scheduled meeting. Wherever I see Add Webex means this is a scheduled meeting. If I want to slip in my personal room details, I can do that too. So I'll just go ahead and quickly type out a sample here. Call it sample meeting. For the location, I usually let my attendees know it's going to be a Webex meeting. My date, my time, my duration, and because I'm in Outlook, I can give everybody an agenda. And I'm in Outlook. I don't have to go to different places. I can invite my attendees or I can look at my scheduling assistant. I'll go ahead and invite my alter ego. So there we go. Up to now, probably know how to do this. This is scheduling an appointment. Now what I want to do is I want to add a Webex meeting to it. Once I click on the Add Webex Meeting button, you're going to see there's a placeholder that shows up below. Now this behavior can be a little bit different depending on a certain little checkbox I want to show you. I'm going to click on this Change Settings button. This Change Settings button in the very lower left corner has a Don't Show Me These Settings Again checkbox. That's why it doesn't pop up every time I click on the Add Webex Meeting button. So if you want to look at it, you can always uncheck this. So this is a scheduled meeting because I'm filling out a form. I'm not just saying, here's the link, join, I'll talk to you later, I'll see you. So I'm going to go ahead and choose whether I want to password protect it. Some sites have required passwords, so mine is not. Some sites also enable us to allow our attendees into our meetings up to 15 minutes before we've even started it, as well as get connected to the audio. My site uses integrated Webex audio, and it has toll-free available. We are all different customers and have different specifications, different setups, different contractual agreements, but this is where you're going to have your primary audio option. I want to hear a tone every time someone joins the meeting, or maybe I don't, and now I click on OK. When I hit send, and I'll go ahead and just send that out, it wants to spell check my Webex, it's actually going to pop in those meeting details. So in every single invite that I use or I do, there's a join button. We can all click on this. I can join it as the host. You can join it as my attendee. There's a phone number if we want to pick up a phone and dial in. And then there's also the video address in case you have users or you yourself are looking to join from video endpoints. Some of us also have the Microsoft and Link and Skype for Business option at the very bottom. The phone number is always listed, but I would never really use this unless I'm actually dialing in from a landline and I'm not joining on my mobile app or my computer. It's really just there for me as a backup. Which brings me to other ways that you can schedule your meeting. You don't have to just rely on email integrations. You've got a Webex site. Your Webex site, once you are signed into it, gives you your personal meeting option. So this is where you can initiate a meeting. See how it says start a meeting? I've actually customized the name of my personal meeting. You can do that in your preferences. Down here, these are all of my scheduled meetings. If you want to schedule a meeting, just like I've done here, you'll click on schedule. All you need to do in this case is give it a name. So I'll call it sample. I don't require passwords on my site. If I'm not using that little calendar integration, what I might do is just invite myself. When I get the invitation, I will take what I need out of that invitation and create my own calendar invite. Now it says start because I haven't changed the date. So if I make this on the 10th, and now I'll click on schedule, I've now scheduled my meeting. Here's a little attachment or ICS where I can actually put this into my calendar. So there is the web-based option, and then if you are using the Outlook plugin, you may also find you've got the desktop application as well. The desktop application is yet another way to start meetings, join meetings, schedule meetings, and if you're not in a meeting, this will say start a meeting, and guess what that is? I'll give you one guess. It's this guy right here, your personal meeting room, your link that never changes. If you want to find out more about your personal meeting room, if you just come out here and go to more ways to join, you'll see the video address if people want to join on video systems, and you'll also find the phone number information in case people need to dial in by the phone. So you've got a few different options there. There's more, but we just don't want to go through every single one. We want to give you enough to get started. And then I want you to think about how you're connecting to audio. When you join my Webex meeting or join another Webex meeting, did you actually pick up your phone and dial in first? If you did, you don't need to do that. Think of your Webex meetings like this. If I was in a conference room with the door shut and you're ready to meet with me, before you start talking to me, what's the first thing you do? You have to walk in the door. Once you walk in the door, then we can start talking. So I want you to think about clicking on that join button in your invitations or wherever you choose to join or start your meetings. That's walking through the door. Once you walk through the door, you've got the ability of using your phone, you have the ability of using your computer, and if you're using video conferencing, you can use your video conferencing device. Let me show you what that looks like. All of that, not just the video device, of course. Let me go back to my Outlook invitation. So if I'm following my own best practice, I'm going to click on Join. Now I'm the host of this meeting, so it's going to start the meeting as the host. As soon as I join, I'm going to have my audio option. So I've walked in the door. I've clicked on the button. If I have a direct dial phone, I'll put my phone number in here and I'll have the meeting call me. Your phone will ring, you'll pick up the phone, follow the instructions that it's telling you on the phone, and you're done. You'll get a little phone icon there to the left of your name. Maybe you don't have a direct dial line. Maybe you have no idea what the number is where you're at. Still, come into the meeting first, dial the number, find one closer to you, enter the access code, and enter your attendee ID number. This attendee ID number will put the phone to the left of your name. Then you also have call using computer. You've got a headset plugged in, you've got your earbuds, maybe you're just going to listen to your speakers because you don't have anyone else around you. This is how you define how you want to listen. This is how you define how you want to talk. And then finally at the bottom you've got Call My Video System. And Call My Video System is if you're using video conferencing devices. Some of these video conferencing devices can actually detect that you're close to them and they will automatically show up and allow you to connect. And your video device is your audio and your video source, so you're done. If you're only using computer audio or phone, then you can also choose to share your video. So this will actually let me preview my video. So hello, what do I have down here? Hello. And if I want, I can turn my video on my way into the session as well. When I'm done, I click on Connect to Audio. So that's what you want to do. You want to walk in the door, and then you want to get connected to the audio. Do know in Webex meetings, I'm going to share my actual screen so you can see my little cursor moving around. Hosts, I've got control under my participant drop-down menu. I can mute everybody here. I can unmute everybody here. And then I can make sure I mute people that come in a little bit later. As attendees, you can only mute and unmute your own line, and you can do that with your mute button here. This is why you want to come into the meeting first and get connected to the audio. If you are using your PC, the volume will lower when there's a little bit of background typing. I'm going to leave my screen shared and talk a little bit about video. So if I want to go ahead and turn on my video, maybe I didn't turn it on my way into the session as I did here. This is where I'm going to go ahead and do it. If I want to start it, I'll click Start. If I need to flip it over to an external camera, I could do that. I'll start my video, and you'll see me down here. So this is where I see myself, and I'll see everyone else along the top. This is an actual example of video only, so no content being shared. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to turn my video off. You're going to turn it off the same way you turned it on. Now, meetings that were used with video last about 45 minutes versus 56 when they are not, believe it or not. We get a lot more done. It's easier to tell when people are about to stop talking so you can hop in. And it also really humanizes your meeting. It gives a very good experience. Content sharing is another thing we can do, but before I talk about that, I want to talk a little bit about the roles of the meeting. We've covered the host already. The host schedules and opens up that meeting. I'll tell you how to do this in a moment, but the host is also the one that can record. I can make anybody the presenter, but guess what? You can be the presenter too if you want. And I can mute all of you, mute on entry, just like I showed you. And if I want to end it for everybody, I am the one that will end that meeting. Now, the presenter is the one that's doing what I'm doing now. You can be one and the same. I opened it, I scheduled it, I'm now presenting as well. But this presenter role can be passed to anyone else in the session. We'll do that in the participant panel. In the participant panel, we can slide the presenter ball to anybody's name, but do know that any one of you that is an attendee in a Webex session, you can actually click on the Share Content button at any time. You don't have to wait for someone to make you the presenter. Let me talk you through some of the things that you can do with sharing your content. There's a couple of different ways to go about it. Once again, I'm going to share my screen with you. So under the Share menu, there's Share Content, and that will actually pop up this button down here. Screen 1 or 2. Sharing your screen is sharing your screen. I have dual monitors. It lets me pick one or the other. I like to use screen sharing when I've got multiple applications I'd like to show. Share application down here. See how we have a small line and then we have all of these different applications? This is if I only want to share one application at a time. I don't want to share my screen. I just want to share the one application. Then down here you've got Share File. This is actually how I brought my presentation slides into this content viewer. And this allows me to actually present to these slides. I've been using this little toolbar here to go backward and forward. I've been able to look at my slides in thumbnail view, and I've got my annotation tools over on the side. And then the last thing that you have here is you also have Whiteboard. And Whiteboard allows you to, hi there, write on the whiteboard. Sometimes, you know, you want to really replace that face-to-face meeting and you need a whiteboard to draw things out and dial things out. Now, back up to the Share drop-down menu, there's some other options in here. There's Share Web Browser, which is basically going to pop up a web browser for everyone to see, and wherever you navigate, they follow along. You can always have that web browser open and ready to go when you share your screen or share application. Share Multimedia is a little different. Share Multimedia is going to ask you for a URL. It is, if I put in here, say I put in Google, and I click on OK. It actually puts Google in the multimedia viewer, and notice how this is an active window. Now, it's active for each of us separately, so you'll be able to search for something. So if I have a form I want you to fill out, if I want you to navigate separately from me, I can use Share Multimedia. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to get us away from this whiteboard, and I want to move on to how do you initiate a recording. So take a look at this toolbar here and maybe give it a guess. How would I initiate a recording? The record button right there, right there. Let me get my pointer tool. When you go to initiate a recording, it gives you two options. Well, first it's going to give you a start option, and that's where you go to start your recording. So you simply click on the recording button and you hit start. When you have clicked on the recording button and you hit start, it toggles to stop and pause. So if you need to step away for a moment, if you're taking a little break and you don't want a big, weird, silent pause, you can pause it. You can initiate this recording, and it is then going to be available to you on your Webex site. So the rule with the recording is this. If you initiate a recording, in order for this recording to get created, for it to be available to you, you have to close your meeting. So you got to end that meeting, and then the recording eventually could take 10 minutes, it could take up to 24 hours, is going to show up here. So your meeting's got to be closed. It won't generate until your meeting is closed, and then come check here in about, I usually look about 30 minutes later, but it is up to 24 hours. And right here is where you'll find your recording. You can click on the recording name, and that will play it. And I'm just going to stop that. You can scroll over a little bit here, and you can see a download button if you want to download a copy of it. You've got a little share button here that you can use. You can enter an email address, or you could just take the URL from here and put it in your own communication. And then you've got an edit and a delete area where you can start to clean things up. And that is where you're going to find your recordings. Your recordings will be there until you delete them, unless your site administrator has made some changes as to the length of time they can be there. Sometimes they have the ability of removing them, but typically you're made aware of what the ruling is around keeping recordings over there. All right, the last thing I want to go ahead and make sure you're aware of, first off, meetings overview. Wanted to keep it short, sweet, give you enough information to make you decide, yeah, Webex meetings is for me, or maybe you're thinking, no, I'm a trainer, I want to learn more about Webex training. I do want you all to go out and get the Cisco Webex Meetings app on your iPad, your Samsung devices, your tablets, your smartphones. It's free. It's free to anybody that wants to go and use it. That includes your attendees as well. And so once you get there, you're able to initiate meetings on the go or join meetings on the go. Of course, try to not do it when it's driving, but please go out and grab that app. The other thing that I do want to remind you of is to make sure that you are taking additional classes. We have all of our classes available here at help.webex.com. If you come, let me just come here to the initial page, you'll find us here at online classes. Over here is where you'll find all of the instruction and the documentation and really how-tos for all of your Webex services. All right, well that concludes our overview for your Webex meeting service. I hope you enjoy using the service and just go out there and practice and get comfortable with it. I hope to see you in more trainings. Have a wonderful day.